Welcome back, everybody. Today I am not in California. I am in Florida, and I'm going to take you on just like a quick walkthrough of the Pop Century Resort. I just want to remind you too, if you haven't already, subscribe and tap the bell to get all things Super Cali. So this resort is the value resort here at Walt Disney World. So this is going to be your most affordable resort. That does not mean it is not awesome. We so enjoyed our stay here. It felt like home. It had all the amenities, all the food and shopping that we needed. There's a lot of different rooms. They start from the 50s and they go all the way through the 90s, celebrating pop culture decade by decade. Let's go to the very front of the resort, start there, work our way through the Classic Hall, and then I will take you from the 50s and we'll work all the way to the 90s.
Hey Callies, it's Alyssa from the future. I just have to tell you, when we were visiting the Pop Century Resort, it was early May, so a lot of the safety regulations have changed. I will put the Disney World website and phone number in the description box of this video so you can get up-to-the-date information. Currently, if you are fully vaccinated, you do not need to wear a face covering outside or inside, just on the public transportation, like the buses, the monorail, but that could change too. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that this was filmed in early May and some rules and regulations may have changed.
If you're coming to the Pop Century from the Orlando airport, this is where you will arrive. You will come on one of the Disney Magical Express buses and you will have access straight into the Classic Hall. And just to the right is the Luggage Check. The luggage assistant here, they are so great. They are open 24 hours a day. We arrived at 7 a.m. We flew on a red eye. That might have been a mistake. We were very tired, but we got here at 7 a.m. and our room check-in was not until 3. So we checked all of our luggage, including my daughter's insulin. So my daughter has type 1 diabetes and celiac, so we do have to travel with insulin and it has to stay refrigerated. So they were able to check it in and refrigerate it for us, which is such a huge help because it is hot out here. So that's a really important service. So no matter when you're flying, don't worry about your room check-in or check-outs. You can check your luggage 24/7 here and then make your way about the park freely. If you're checking out at 11 or arriving right at 3, lines do form. It could be a very long line. So just be aware that there is a bit of traffic certain times of day, but when there's not, it's very smooth. We waited just a few minutes. So it really just depends on the time of day you come by, but it's a great service that they provide free of charge. Okay, before we head into the Classic Hall, I just want to give you a couple more points of reference. Across from Mickey's Magical Express is the parking lot. So if you're driving in, this is your parking lot. And then of course, if you're going to the Magic Kingdom, Disney Springs, any of the resorts that you cannot access through the Skyliner, you will be standing in line for the buses here. It is just off the Classic Hall, so it is very accessible, but I just wanted to show that to you guys just in case you're wondering or you're coming and you want to know where things are. There is the bus transportation line. So let's head into the Classic Hall. This is so cool. I love this golf cart. This classic car golf cart sits out here. It is so groovy, you guys. Look at this. Oh, it feels so good. It's really hot out today, but here's the Classic Hall. Air conditioning is welcomed every time you walk into it. So here to the left is your check-in. They have many cast members ready to help you, so it shouldn't take too long to check in. Now, of course, a line could form if you're here at prime time, but as you can see, it's about midday right now, and it's not too bad. I love all along this wall, they have these amazing black and white photographs, different pop culture moments through the eras. And then along this wall here on the right, they have all of these boxed memorabilia working from the 50s all the way through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. At the end of your stay, you'll probably end up in this room. It's a waiting room, a sleeping room. When we came through in the morning, a lot of people were asleep in here. My kids are happily playing their iPads. There is Wi-Fi throughout the parks. You can use it free of charge while you're staying here. So this is the room you'll probably end up in on your way out. At the very end of the Classic Hall is the Everything Pop shopping and dining. There are a lot of shopping options if you want to grab something for the parks or get something before you leave Walt Disney World. And then of course there is the dining. Currently the hours for the shopping and dining is 7 to 11. Now that could change at any time. That's just how it is. Again, this is early May, so you might want to check with Disney destinations before you come if you need to know. But if you like to plan your meals, and especially if you have allergy or dietary needs, you can actually email Disney in advance. Say you have like a gluten intolerance, and tell them, hey, I'm gluten-free. You can plan every meal in advance if you wish with the chef. Also, for all of you that are here for my gluten-free content, this dining hall, every item on the menu is available gluten-free. Not all the restaurants do that, but the Pop Century is really great with allergies. I can't vouch for the other resorts, but I can vouch for the Pop Century that you will be able to eat if you have some sort of dietary need. I was gonna order groceries, but it was so expensive and such a hassle, I didn't, and my daughter has been able to find food this entire week, and you guys, she has celiac. She can't have food that touches gluten. So it's really so amazing. I know a lot of you know about this. If you have a disability and you're a fan of Disney, they are so great with disabilities and dietary needs. So I just wanted to say a little bit about that, and then we'll head out to the Hippie Dippy pool, and I'll take you through all the different wings, starting from the 50s and working all the way into the 90s. Okay, so when you walk through the Classic Hall, right across from it is the Hippie Dippy pool. It is shaped like a giant flower, and it does have a little bit of water play with flower fountains. The 60s wing is a little more expensive than the 50s and 80s because of its proximity to the Classic Hall, having the main pool, and it is the closest wing of this resort to the Skyliner, and the Skyliner is your transportation to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Right outside the Hippie Dippy pool is Pedals, and they do serve alcoholic beverages, a couple different non-alcoholic smoothie options, beer, refreshments. It does open midday, and also just to let you guys know, while we were staying here, the pool is open from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Also next to the Hippie Dippy pool, and in the same building as Pedals, the bar here, they have the laundry room. You do need a key to get access into the room. There are just basic washer dryers. Make sure you use one that is operational, because sometimes they go out. Maybe ask the person before you, hey, did the dryer work? That would be my tip. They sell boxes of soap for $1 each, and then the loads are $3 for wash and a $3 for dry. So if you're looking for the laundry room, it is right across from the Hippie Dippy pool. We stayed in the 50s wing. We love everything mid-century, and we were getting a value room. We were getting the most affordable room here. Our options were the 50s or the 80s. We love the 80s, but we had to check out the 50s. If you want to see a room tour of what our room looked like, I will link it here. The 50s wing is relatively close to the Skyliner too, if you care about that. So just to keep that in mind. I'm just going to show you the view of the Skyliner from the 50s wings, just so you can get a sense of how close it is and some of the views, not on the pool side, but on the water side. So there is the Skyliner Station. It is the only floating Skyliner station. Just a little bit of, I don't know, random fact that you learn when you're staying here. Okay, here is the 50s pool. As you can hear, the music is scooting. I was gonna say bumping, but it's the 50s. And the pool is amazing. It's a really pretty pool, and it's actually shaped like a giant bowling pin. You have a giant oversized jukebox in the background. Everyone's doing the sock hop. The stairwells at this resort are really fun too. The 50s stairwells are giant bowling pins. So the stairwell circles inside this bowling pin. The 60s is giant yo-yos. Just for your reference, here's a map of the Pop Century Resort. So we have looked at the 50s, the 60s with the Hippie Dippy pool, the Classic Hall here, of course, the parking where you come in on the buses, the bus stops. And now we're gonna head into the 70s, 80s, and 90s wings. You can see 70s has its own structure, but they do not have a pool. The 80s does have a pool, and it's kind of like an 80s, 90s section. So just to give you a little lay of the land, there's the pool bar, the laundry. This is gonna be your central hub in this whole resort. And then of course, the Skyliner here. So when you head out of the Classic Hall and you take a left, you're gonna find access to the 70s, 80s, and 90s wings of the Pop Century Resort. Hey Goofy, what's up? This looks like just kind of a photo op, a relaxation area. Over here by the 70s wing, there is a playground, so if that's a priority to you, you're going to want to be in the 70s, 80s, or 90s wing to be close to it. I don't really have a lot of time to go explore the playground right now, but just to give you a point of reference, here's the entrance to the 70s wing. If you're looking for the playground, it's kind of tucked away behind the 70s wing before you get to the 80s and 90s. Here in the 70s wings, you have platform shoes and mood rings, and you've got this giant big wheel toy car. It's got your Mickey phone, your classic Mickey phone, and then of course this giant foosball table, which is larger than life and really fun. They even got a ball over here. I only did camp a couple times in my life, but I always found the foosball table. I love foosball. It's such a fun game. So the stairwells in the 70s wings are 8 tracks, classic. Honestly, my husband and I, we didn't live through the 70s, but we knew about 8 tracks because our parents had them laying around. Our kids, you know, they have no idea what an 8 track is. So it's really fun to see these giant 8 tracks and then be like, okay, well, this is what it is, and try to explain it to them, and just the evolution of music and culture and entertainment over the years. It's really fun. It's a good conversation starter. On the first day we were staying at the Pop Century, we came as a family to the 80s and 90s pool. We loved it. The kids thought it was so much fun. Raleigh loved Mr. and Mr. Potato Head here. Declan thought these Rubik's Cube stairwells were just amazing. And then Jesse and I, of course, loved the pool because they play 80s and 90s music. It is a really fun section of this resort, you guys. The laptop in the background, the floppy disk, the Sony Walkman, the ghost from Pac-Man, and Roger Rabbit. There is a giant keyboard on the ground. We had so much fun hanging out here. This wing of the resort is a little more removed, so if you care about that, you might not want to come back here, but if you love all things 80s and 90s, you're gonna want to check it out. It's also right on the water, so if you like to escape into nature, there's a really lovely walking path, and this path will take you to the Skyliner also, so you're not too far. There's no part of this resort that is too far from the Skyliner. Now, if you come to Walt Disney World or Florida in general, do be careful on the water's edge. There are alligators and snakes, that's no joke. You're totally safe if you're up here on land, but you and your kids do not want to wander near this water. There are alligators, so that is a real thing. Just beware. There's plenty of places to swim and enjoy the water, but not out there, so just stay on the path, okay, you guys? You see these fun placards all along this path along the water here. They go from the 90s all the way through the 50s, pop culture through the centuries. It's just kind of a fun thing. Jesse and I enjoyed it. Kind of took us back to our childhood, the 80s and 90s, and being like, oh yeah, I remember that, or oh my gosh, I remember this toy, you know, so triggering like fun childhood memories and just kind of celebrating American pop culture. Okay, across the water here in the distance, you can see the Skyliner Station. This is so cool that they have the Skyliner. I'm so glad they put it in. I think they put it in 2009. It was our first time riding it. Raleigh was a little bit scared at first, but then once she got the hang of it, it was our favorite ride. It was our first ride here at the resort and our last ride. And it was really special, just floating over the resort, taking in the sights, and anticipating going to either Hollywood Studios or Epcot. Now the lines do get really long in the morning, and they only open it up an hour before the parks open. So if you want to be at the parks when they open, you're gonna have to wait in a line probably about a half hour to an hour before the Skyliner opens. But if you are running, 10, 20 minutes behind, don't worry, it moves really fast. You'll get into the park, and before you know it, you'll be enjoying rides and all the things that the parks have to offer. It really is such a magical flight, just like they say. The 2 resorts that use this particular station are the Pop Century, and then across the bridge here, it's Art of Animation. That's another resort. So if you want to check that out, if you have time. We did not really have time to go explore that resort, but they are very close to each other. They're connected by this bridge, and they share this particular Skyliner Station across the water here. Thank you for taking this walking tour with me of the Pop Century Resort. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time at Super Cali Land. Bye!